Why, hi there, I'm Ron Jeckett, and it's time for the DoDCast Postgame show for this second day of September 2017, and it's a happy recap. And if you were kind of half paying attention through the game, especially the first part of the game, and you see me say it's a happy recap, you wouldn't have thought that. The Nats bats were asleep for most of the game. Max Scherzer took one off the back of his calf. They were down 2-1 for most of it, but Michael A. Taylor with a homer to tie it, and another big run in the eighth to win it. And the Washington Nationals win on this Saturday night by the score of 3-2. How about that? 82 wins on the year, I believe now, and the magic number is 13 because the Marlins lost today. We'll get to that in a minute. And so it's just what the Nats needed. A big comeback win on a night when nothing was going for them. It was just a continuation of that 17 strikeout show that we had on Friday night. But a huge, huge win for the Nats tonight. Totals. As I said, the Nats go to 82-53, have a winning season again, another winning season in Washington. 3 runs on 6 hits and a bad error. The error should have been on Daniel Murphy, but it was charged to Jason Worth and Wright on a play that probably would have cost the Nats the game. As I said, 3 runs, 6 hits, and an error. Milwaukee falls to 71-65, and that's big because the Cubs beat the Braves today at Wrigley 12-4. 2 runs, 5 hits, and an error for Milwaukee, which allowed the winning run for Washington to score. Ryan Madson, pitching for the first time since August 10th, goes to 5-4. Hader takes the loss. Hader. No, his name is not Bill. Goes to 1-2. And Sean Doolittle, again with a save, is 17th and his 14th as a member of the Nats. Trey Turner with a big hit tonight. A double off the wall in center. Michael Taylor with a home run in the 8th inning, in that 2-run 8th inning. He hit it halfway to Green Bay, for crying out loud. Assuming that Green Bay is actually out of that part of the stadium. Okay, pitching lines. Max Scherzer, 5 innings of not great baseball. He was hit in the back of the leg on a comebacker in the first. He stayed in the game till the 5th. Despite not being able to run or limp or much of anything, his fastball crept down to 92 at one point. 2 innings, a run it was earned. He walked 2, struck out 2, ends up with no decision. Ali Perez, 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, a run it was earned. He walked 2, not a great night for him. Joe Blanton got the last out of the 6th after a hit and a strikeout. Ryan Madson pitched a clean 7th. He got a strikeout. Brandon Kitzler pitched a clean 8th. He got a strikeout. And Sean Doolittle allowed a 2-out hit in the 9th and then a long blast at the end of the game. But it was caught by Taylor, an inning and a strikeout for save number 17th. And if you're in a league with some holds, Kitzler picks up his 7th hold. Scherzer, 75 pitches, 44 strikes. Perez, 15 pitches for 7. Blanton, 7 for 5. Madson, 10 for 6, which is very good because he hasn't pitched in almost a month. Kinsler, 7 for 5. And Doolittle, 17 for 14 in the 9th. And if you're wondering about runners in scoring positions tonight, they were 2 for 6 in risky situations. Stranding 5. Let's see. I'll talk about that in a minute. So overall, a very, very good win on a night where they didn't really have anything going on. After the 17 strikeout game, I do see what you're writing, Seth, but I want to try to watch Twitter at the same time. Night that they've had, I believe, 5 hits over the in a game and a half stretch. They just couldn't get anything going. And all of a sudden, Hader came in to pitch the 8th, and Taylor greeted him with that home run. That was absolutely huge and changed the whole aspect of the game because the Nats, that error there that was charged to Worth after he couldn't bounce, corral it off the sidewall. But really, Zimmerman couldn't leap to get it, and then Murphy kind of misplayed it. I thought Murphy was going to get charged with the air. It went to Worth, and that allowed a big run for the Brewers. But this team just doesn't give up. They have a lot of heart, and when backs against the wall again with a chance to lose the series, they won. And so tomorrow afternoon at 2, Edwin Jackson goes to give the Nats a split, and if you get it, you take it. You would have taken it before the series started. So they don't lose any ground in Miami. In fact, they gain a game because the Marlins lost, I think. Now I'm confused. I don't know the answer to these questions. Actually, Miami's up 10-8 in the 8th inning. So there's no ground lost to them or in the whole pennant race situation. All right. I'm not seeing anything yet on Scherzer's injury, so I will go to you in chat. Marlins are ahead. Jay Lewis says, we needed that one in the series. We certainly did, Jay. They certainly did. Boy, they looked flat last night. They had chances to do something and they couldn't. And today, Rendon is struggling. Murphy didn't really play all that well on either side of the ball. And then they got it from Taylor. I mean, they got it from the guys that we thought would be on the bench at the beginning of the season. Those are the ones that did it. Defoe dropped a beautiful bunt there to set up what would turn out to be the winning run. And Turner, of course, with that huge double off the wall in center. I mean, it just all works. Let's see. We won't talk about the hurricane because I know that's not very good. Glad Seth at Old Dominion won today. Our old friend Matt Wyatt, who's over at Fed Baseball, is also the sports editor was the sports editor for James Madison's daily paper, Seth, the Breeze. And they upset East Carolina today, which is also pretty good. I don't know what Virginia Tech's doing. They're playing in Landover now against West Virginia. That's where our good friend Drew Douglas is. So, yeah, all good stuff along that line. Let's take a look at some other scores. As we said, Miami leads Philadelphia 10-8 with 2 outs in the top of the 8th. Philadelphia has a runner on third. Other finals from today that matter in the National League. Cubs, as I said, beat the Braves 14-12, or the Bears beat the Falcons. Doubleheader in San Diego. The Padres walked off the first one over the Dodgers 6-5. Cardinals lost to the Giants today 2-1 in 10. Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati 5-0. Even I don't think Pittsburgh really has a chance. Minnesota in the American League is just a house of fire. They shut out Kansas City today 17-0. Blue Jays beat Baltimore 7-2. Scary moment in that game as Marcus Stroman took one off his pitching arm, a liner from Trumbo that measured 105 off the bat. X-rays, thankfully, are negative. In the Miami game, Stanton with his 52nd of the year. Houston leads the Mets 3-1 in the bottom of the 6th. In that doubleheader today, Matt Harvey got tossed around the first game. Houston won that one 8-12. Justin Verlander's debut for Houston tonight in Game 2. And Wilmer Flores took a foul ball off the face and left after bleeding a lot. I did not see that one. Just a night of scary injuries. He's been taken to the hospital for x-rays. Dodgers lead the Padres 1-0 in the bottom of the first of the second game. Arizona and Colorado in a huge series out in Denver. The D-backs lead 4-1 in the bottom of the 6th. Milwaukee had the chance to cut the gap to Colorado to, I think, a game and a half tonight for the second wild card. So lots for the Brewers to play for, even if they can't catch the Cubs, and that's a big one. They had a chance tonight to get one, at least keep even with the Cubs, and they couldn't. Let's see, anything on Scherzer yet? No. So again, that was a big win for the Nationals. and they're not going to lose any ground tonight. And if Miami wins, it doesn't matter. The magic number is 13, and if somehow the Phillies come back and win the game, the magic number is 12, which means that they still can clinch the National League East sometime in the next week if everything goes right. So good things there. Kind of a mixed night in the minors. Syracuse did beat Buffalo tonight, 2-1, a walk-off win for the Chiefs. They go to 54-86. Remember, everything pretty much ends on Monday. Wander Suero picked up the win, 3-1 with the 1.70 ERA. I wonder if he will get called up on the 40 end of the team once their season ends on Monday, Labor Day. Harrisburg and Altoona were suspended for rain at 1-1 after 5. As I lose my cursor, they will finish that game tomorrow before the regularly scheduled game. West Virginia beat Auburn 5-1 in New York Penn League action. Johnson with the loss 0-2 on the year for Auburn. Gulf Coast Nats, who are going to the playoffs, lost to the Cardinals today in West Palm 13-9. No homers. Peguero takes the loss for the Nats. He's 1-1. The Nats scored 7 in the 8th to tie it, by the way, and lose it with 4 in the 9th to the Gulf Coast Cardinals. Potomac and Frederick were rained out. And so were Lexington and Hagerstown. I'm not seeing, of course, anything, and everyone else has other things they're doing on a Saturday night to watch Twitter. So I don't know if I'm going to get anything before I go off the air. So if you've got some questions in the chat, shoot them over, and we'll hang for a few more minutes while I wait on Scherzer. The good thing is, if you're not seeing anything now, I take it that's a good sign for later regarding Scherzer. I'm surprised he pitched into the 5th, to be honest, because he batted in the 4th inning. He couldn't even run. I mean, he hit a grounder and just kind of stopped about 10 feet from home plate. I mean, he shouldn't have even swung the bat as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully it's a lot like when he took the ball off his knee on Mother's Day, the night game against the Phillies, and he didn't pitch well the next time out and was fine after. Jay asked, when do they usually release injury updates? It's usually if they have some indication. Dusty will say something in his post-game press conference. I don't get Masson here in the Northern Vermont headquarters for District on Deck, so I'm waiting on what the beat reporters have to say. I don't think that there's hopefully anything seriously wrong with Scherzer, but the Nats, as you know, are not the most press friendly when it comes to releasing injury details. But in the end, he did actually continue to pitch. His velocity was down. It was down to 92, 93 after the injury, and his control wasn't very good. So he clearly pitched through a bunch of pain, but he must have felt that he could not injure it any more than he already had, which is a good sign that there's nothing really serious about him. The Nats have talked about going to a 6-man rotation anyway at some point, I think after the division is actually clinched. But if it's a case where he may need a day or two, Eric Fetty is now back with the club. It's Edwin Jackson pitching tomorrow. They could conceivably go to a 6-man and give everyone else a day. Gio threw a lot of pitches in his start when they lost Thursday in, I think it was 5-2 when he finally came out. So it wouldn't hurt, and you have the people. It's September, and you have a big lead, and the offense is still the offense. Apparently, Matt Wieters hurt his knee the other day, and that's why Lobaton caught 2 days in a row. Didn't swing the bat tonight, but he did catch a couple innings. Roddy Reed was going to pinch hit, but did not because they had Diaz come up to bunt, and he bunted it foul for an out in the latter stages of the game. All right, we'll give it another minute or two before we sign off for the night, but it's a good sign if we're not hearing anything. Usually what happens is if once we sign off is when we start to hear some stuff. Today on the site, Ricky wrote about those Gulf Coast National, who were the only team in the organization to have clinched a playoff spot so far. Unless Harrisburg can win the second half in their split season. Not Harrisburg, Hagerstown. The Suns can actually do that. If they win the second half, they will make the playoffs in their league. And if not, then the minor league season ends pretty much after Labor Day, with the exception of that. So anyone that's coming up from Syracuse, such as Suero or Stevenson and some of those, will come up once the Syracuse season is over. But as you know, from watching a lot of these games, it was a lot of minor leaguers and a lot of homegrown talent that made the difference for the Nats this year, and it worked. It's working. I mean, they've got a winning season, and they're going to go back to the playoffs. All right, I think I've stalled long enough here. Not saying anything, any quotes from anybody in regards to Scherzer. So take that for the moment as a hopeful sign. Drew Douglas did a piece on the wonderful Anthony Rendon and his value to the team. Tomorrow, not sure what we got going for you. I'll have something for you early. That's what you get when you improvise, I suppose. If you got any more questions, pass them along. As far as next weekend series against the Phillies at home, it's supposed to be a big hurricane that's supposed to hit the Delmarva region next week. I'm not sure what we're going to get in, but at the moment, there's another four-game series against the Phils, and then a day off on the 11th. With, of course, a lot of things going on the East Coast next weekend, with, of course, full college football and pro football. So we'll see what happens with all that. But at the moment, it just does not look very good for anything happening substantially sports-wise come next weekend. All right. I think I'm going to give up on this because I think they're waiting for me to shut up. So what time is the game tomorrow, Jay? Good question. First pitch is about 2:10. I believe it's on Masson tomorrow if you're watching. Of course, Charlie and Dave will have it for you on the Fan. And I will be with you the rest of the holiday weekend for your dancing and dining pleasure to either do these games on Twitter, which you can follow us at District on Deck, or the post-game shows on YouTube. Give it a like and subscribe today, and I'll be with you for the opener of the big Marlin series in Miami on Monday night. Ricky and Drew will split the other two games of the Marlin series, and after that, after I see you Monday, I won't see you until next Sunday, and I bet there's a doubleheader depending on what the Storm does. So that's the week ahead. It's 3 in Miami after this 4 in Milwaukee, and then 4 at home against the Phillies as the Nats begin a long homestand. 7 days. I believe the Braves are coming in after. Okay. On that final note, that's, I guess, is what we have for you. So, again, a big win for the Nationals tonight. They come from a 2-1 deficit to beat the Brewers 3-2. Ajax hopes to get a split of the series tomorrow. First pitch, as I said, at 2:10. And I'll be with you about 2 o'clock on Twitter. I'm Ron Juckett. For Ricky Keeler and the rest of the folks at District on Deck, have yourself a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.